Hello, my name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to talk about the books that I read in December. Okay, so in December I read 17 books for a total of 7,203 pages. That is an average of 424 pages per book, which is definitely higher than normal. My general moods this month were mysterious, dark, and informative, which I read a lot of thrillers, so. For pacing, I had 6 that were slow-paced, 10 that were medium-paced, and 1 that was fast-paced, which was interesting to me because most of the time thrillers do tend to fall into that fast-paced category, but apparently not these ones. As far as page numbers, I had 4 books that were under 300 pages, 8 books that were between 300 and 499 pages, and then 5 books that were 500 plus, which is definitely more than last month. I read 12 fiction books and 4 nonfiction books. I'm actually kind of surprised that my nonfiction is even that high because I don't feel like I read that many. The main genres I read from this month were thriller, historical fiction, and science fiction, which is not at all surprising to me. And then my star ratings were a 3.67 average. As far as format, I had 4 that were on audiobook, 7 that were ebooks, and 6 that were physical books. Okay, so we're going to go in reverse this month. Usually I just start at 5 and work my way down, but we're going to start with the books I didn't rate and then go backwards. So my 5-star is the last book we're going to talk about. So for the books I didn't rate, I have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I don't really rate classics because I don't know how to. I'm sorry, it is what it is. I enjoyed this book quite a bit. I don't know if I'm really going to bother giving a synopsis because I am so late to the party on Jane Eyre that it's absolutely insane. I will say there are a lot of things that, like, I didn't quite understand why they were happening. So I had to reach out and ask for some help. But overall, the story was fairly enjoyable. I didn't love the first, 100 pages when Jane is, a child and when she gets sent to that horrible school. That was all kind of garbage. But I do understand, I guess, why it was in there, because this is just Jane telling her life story. And I'm still not sure I'm keen on the ending. But it is what it is. I'm glad I read it. The other book I didn't rate, this is another middle grade. This is Kristina, the Girl King by Carolyn Meyer. I have been reading through the Royal Diaries series for a long time now. A long time. I would love to finish it this year though. This one was good. Kristina isn't really maybe the most popular royal, mostly because I don't think Sweden is as big of a country in terms of impact on the world. So I didn't know a ton about her. I did some Googling because of course I did. And in general, I liked what I read. I thought the author handled things pretty well, specifically because Kristina, it is, how do I phrase this? There are questions about both her sex and her gender identity because when she was born, for some reason, and she does try to give a reason in here, but I don't think it's the actual real reason. I think it's just something she kind of made up. Kristina was thought to be a boy when she was born, and then at some point they realized she was a girl. So there are some questions about that there, and then Kristina definitely falls into the tomboy side of things. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of questions about her gender identity, and I think part of that is because her father insisted she be given the title of king, not queen, because kings outrank queens. And he wanted to make sure that his offspring was the supreme head of the land, which makes sense to me. And then there is the question, of course, if Kristina was a lesbian or not. There's a lot of questions surrounding Kristina, let's just put it that way. And given when this was written, back in 2002, I was 10, so I was the target audience. And I do know that based on what I knew of the world at that point, a lot of these things, I wouldn't have known how to handle or process them at that point in time. 10-year-olds nowadays maybe would have a better shot, because these are issues that are definitely more pulled to the forefront of society than they were when I was 10. But I think the author handled it really well. She gave enough like subtle clues about the fact that everything with Kristina was not as straightforward as maybe with other people, such as she does talk about her friendship with Eva, I'm not really sure how you pronounce her name, and it is pretty clear that she definitely to an extent loves this girl, and later on in life it is rumored that they are lovers. So I think she did a pretty good job, like towing the line with that to still kind of, as an adult, I can read it and see that the author knew some of these things about her subject, but not making it too overwhelming or unattainable, like for understanding purposes for the audience she was writing for. I don't know if I made myself clear there, but I really tried. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. Okay, I have two 2-star reads. Unfortunately, both of them were e-arcs that I got from NetGalley, but thank you anyway to NetGalley and the publisher for allowing me to read these. I do believe they are both released now. If not, they will be soon. Okay, first of all, we have Gasoline Dreams, Waking Up from Petroculture by Simon Orpana. And then there are a whole host of other people, because this is a graphic novel, so they have like an artist and stuff, but I didn't write all that down. This is a book that should not have been a graphic novel. I think it would have been much more accessible as a reader if it had been just a standard book but with illustrations, because there were so many words thrown onto each page that the illustrations did nothing for me. The words were distracting. I had a hard time figuring out what led to what led to what. Like, there was very poor organization. So I had a really hard time understanding what was going on. And then on top of that, the whole, I don't know, the first quarter of the book is the author using, is the movie called A Quiet Place? I think that's what it's called. I haven't seen it. But he was using that to demonstrate his points, but I thought that it was a real big stretch, and then I haven't seen the movie either, which made it even harder for me to get on board with what he was talking about. Overall, I just thought it kind of failed at what it was trying to do. I think it was a good attempt, but I think it was just poorly executed. And oh god, I hate saying stuff like that, but in this case, that's just how I feel. Secondly, we have An Infinity of Worlds, Cosmic Inflation and the Beginning of the Universe by Will Kinney. This is another book where I know what the author was going for, mostly because he states right in the, is it the foreword or the preface, the author's note, something along those lines, maybe it was the introduction, that he's trying to take a topic that is fairly technical, especially if you don't have much knowledge of physics, and he wanted it to be accessible to the layperson. I'm the layperson, and it was inaccessible. To be honest, I'd say I probably have a greater than average understanding of physics, and it was still inaccessible to me. There was a lot of it where the way it was presented, I just kept zoning out, and I couldn't keep track of how we got from where we were to where we are now. It was really difficult for me to read. Let's move on, because I don't like feeling this way. Okay, next I have a 2.5-star book. This is A History of Wild Places by Shea Ernshaw. And I feel like I'm an unpopular opinion here, because a lot of what I've seen has been people loving this, but I thought it sucked. So that sounds terrible. So in the beginning, like part 1, we have Travis Wren. He has this ability to hold objects that were important to people, and he gets an after image of the person, and he can like track them that way. So people like him for helping them find like missing persons, murder victims, that kind of thing. But first of all, his ability makes no sense. Like, it's just kind of whatever the author wanted it to be. There's no real rhyme or reason to how it works. And to an extent, how it does work is almost ridiculous. Like, I don't know, I really hated it. I thought it was like the dumbest, most contrived bullshit to push the story into the actual plot. Then in part 2, we're following these two sisters and her husband, the one sister's husband. They each have their own point of view, and they are living inside this community that is like off the grid, and it's kind of like a cult. It is a cult. And that the introduction with the dude and his ability, like, that crap basically plays no role in the rest of the story. It is mentioned once near the end, but it had no purpose whatsoever. There were so many things in here that I just hated. I didn't like the writing style. Look, 2.5 was actually generous, in my opinion. Okay, next, 3 stars, In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. This was okay. I think, okay, the atmosphere was good, but I think, like, the plot twist and everything, like, the plot hinged on the fact that this woman had a boyfriend when she was 16 and she couldn't get over him. And I'm just like, this woman is in her 30s, and you're really telling me that all of this hinges on something from over 15 years ago? Like, it was a little bit ridiculous. But the atmosphere was great. I enjoyed the character interactions a lot. And I thought there was one aspect before we got to, like, the plot twist or whatever, the end, that I really thought was handled well, which is why it got a 3-star. This is about a woman, she is an author, and out of the blue she gets invited to a friend's, like, her bachelorette party. They're in the UK, so it's a hen do. Anyway, she is very confused because she wasn't invited to the wedding. They haven't spoken in like 15 years. But she speaks with another friend, that, like, a mutual friend that they had from high school, and they're like, I'll go if you go. So she goes, and this cabin is in, like, the middle of the woods, but it's this ultra modern home where all of it is made out of glass, which sounds pretty cool. So yeah, things get a little bit out of control at this party, but I really enjoyed just the whole setting and atmosphere. I think it was great. Okay, next up, we have a 3.5-star read. This is The Majesties by Tiffany Tsao. This was on track to be a 5-star read. I'm not even kidding. And then the ending happened. And I gotta say, I hated the ending, and I was also confused by the ending. And I was like, okay, no, but the author said this, so this has to be how it is. But then as things kept unraveling, I was like, but is it? So I don't know. I read some reviews, and people also kind of felt the same way I did. This is the story of a woman. She is in a coma because her sister has poisoned the entire family. It's like Grandpa's 80th birthday or something along those lines. Their whole family is there, plus some extended family, plus some friends of the family, and she poisons all of them. The sister who's in a coma is the only one who's left alive. Everyone else has died. She somehow managed to, not kick it. So she's alive, and she, in her head, is kind of rewinding through the years and trying to figure out why it is that her sister did what she did. So much of this was done so well, and if the author had made a different choice for the ending, it would have gotten 5 stars. Okay, next up, we have a 3.75 star. This is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is, actually, it doesn't come out till January, but Book of the Month was able to release it early, so I got to read it early. I really liked this. This follows Chloe Davis. She is a psychologist in Baton Rouge, but when she was 12 years old, her father was arrested for murdering 16 girls in the area. So she's grown up with this hanging over her head, and part of the reason she became a psychologist is because she wanted to figure out what the heck was happening. So now she and her older brother are both living in the Baton Rouge area. Chloe is about to get married, and her brother doesn't really, he doesn't like the guy, which is, you know, it is what it is. He's an older brother. He's protective, you know? But when all this is happening, as if like planning a wedding wasn't a big enough task, teenage girls kind of around Chloe start dying in circumstances that are eerily similar to how her father killed. Naturally, the police pick up on this, and everything kind of goes to hell. Now, while I thought it was fairly predictable, I thought the plot was extremely well crafted. And so for that, it really kept me hooked. Like, it really did. And I can't wait to see what else this author writes, honestly. Okay, we have some 4-star reads. This is by far my biggest star rating for the month. First, I have Violeta by Isabel Allende. I will have a review coming for this soon, so I'm not going to say a ton about it. Basically, it is a woman who was born during the Spanish flu in 1920. She is dying in 2020 during the coronavirus pandemic, and she tells her entire life story to somebody that she loves very dearly. And it was great. I've said it in a couple of things now, but it really felt to me like I was sitting there listening to my grandma tell me the stories from her life, and I loved it for that. Next 4-star, we have How Not to Be Wrong, The Power of Mathematical Thinking by Jordan Ellenberg. This was great. Some of this did go over my head, I will say. Now, I have taken more math classes than the average person. I very much enjoy math. So the fact that some of this went over my head should maybe tell you whether or not you think this is a good pick for you. I don't think it would be a total loss for anybody, because so much of what he talks about, he uses real world examples, specifically when it comes to statistics and how they can be utilized to say something that, while is technically true, does not accurately present the full picture of what is happening. And I really appreciated that about this. He really tries to answer the question that so many teenagers have, which is, when will I ever use this in my life? And he doesn't like the response that most teachers give, which is, well, you don't know what kind of career field you're going to go into, so you need to learn this stuff. To him, that is a non-answer and not the point. To him, math isn't so much solving equations, but a way of thinking and a way of viewing the world. And this really just kind of ignited my passion for mathematics, and I'm very grateful for that. Okay, my next 4-star read, The Second Rebel by Linden A. Lewis. I read The First Sister earlier in 2021, and I absolutely adored it. I think I gave it 5 stars. This one got slightly less because it wasn't quite as strong as the first one, but to be honest, sequels rarely are. So I can't tell you anything about The Second Rebel, but I will tell you a little bit about The First Sister. It is a sci-fi novel set in, basically in space, and there are 2 warring factions, so it's very, very political. There's also a religious system. They don't really worship the mother, but think of her as like the pope of their religion. And then the sisters are like nuns, except not only do men use them for emotional comfort, they are allowed to use them physically for comfort. And these women, they have taken away their voices. They are not allowed to write. The only thing they can do is sign. So that was something else to read, let me tell you. And then there are 2 other character perspectives in that novel. We have Hero, and essentially we don't actually get to see Hero in present day. All we are doing is reading the story that they have recorded for Leto, who is their best friend. They grew up in a military academy together. They were, I can't remember what they're called duelists. Basically, they learn to fight together, so they always have each other's backs, and they have this neural implant that helps them be able to communicate without speaking, which makes them incredibly efficient. Leto has been sent to hunt down and kill Hero, which is not going to be easy. But yeah, just very, very political, very dynamic, and then a crazy freaking plot twist at the end that I'm finally actually starting to unravel, and I think I see where this is going, and I'm very excited. Okay, next 4-star, I have Portrait of a Scotsman by Evie Dunmore. I really like this one. In this one, we are following Hattie Greenfield, and Hattie, okay, alternately, she makes me laugh, and she really frustrates me. She's like the dumb one in a family full of financial geniuses. She's not dumb, she just doesn't have a head for numbers. She is much more artistic and creative, and she's definitely like, she's just different. She's just different, and her family doesn't understand her, but they still seem to love and care for her. But then she ends up inadvertently married to Lucian Blackstone, who is just fabulous. God, he's got to be my favorite so far of characters in this League of Extraordinary Women series. But yeah, I really liked this one. I can't wait for the novel that's going to be about Katrina, I think her name is. I think that one's going to be my favorite because as a character, she's just great, and I can't wait to spend more time with her. Okay, my final 4-star, Dune by Frank Herbert. This took me a while to get through because it is quite long, it is very dense, and all I can say is they did a great job adapting this for film, because reading this, if I hadn't actually seen it on film, I don't know if I could have imagined how they would have adapted it for film. Like, I really don't. There are a ton of characters, there are a lot of political machinations, there's a lot going on here. But I really enjoyed it. It's, I don't know. I want to keep going with it. I really liked it, and I really can't wait to see what they continue to do with the movie series. Is this a book I need to tell you the plot about? I feel like everybody's at least seen the movie trailer, and that basically sums it up. Okay, next I have a 4.25 star. This is The Poisoner's Handbook, Murder and the Birth of Forensic Medicine in Jazz Age New York by Deborah Blum. This was really interesting. It talks a lot about how forensic medicine had to evolve to detect poisons in the system because so many people were getting away with murder by poisoning family members and stuff. But yeah, no, overall I just really enjoyed this. I thought it was very well crafted because it felt mostly like a story, but it was real things that were happening, so it was like true crime but different. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like if true crime was like based not on, you know, each individual murder itself, but had a theme of poisonings, and they pulled a whole bunch of them and showed how the progression of the science of poison detection went through. That's kind of what this is. And I really enjoyed this. I don't know if I'd ever read it again, but it's definitely one I can recommend. Okay, this is 4.75? No, 4.5. I have Where the Truth Lies by Anna Bailey. This is one of those small town murder mystery types books. Like that's what kind of story it is. However, it's very complicated. It shows a lot about like small town America and prejudices, and how just because someone is different, they will be blamed for whatever goes wrong. In this one, 17-year-old Abigail goes missing. Her best friend Emma she's going through it because she let Abigail walk away from her at a party, and then she left. And she feels a lot like she is to blame. And then on top of that, Emma has a Hispanic father and a white mother. And a lot of things are said to her in this book about that. Her mom won't tell her the truth about why her dad left. It's a lot. I kind of hate Emma's mom, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, her rationale for why she made the choices she made are terrible, frankly. But, oh man. And then on top of that, Abigail, the missing teen, her brother Noah he's going through it too. So not only is his sister gone, but he had a complicated relationship with her because she was the golden child. Their father was abusive, but Abigail was like the son he wanted that Noah couldn't be. There's just a lot. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to unpack. I highly, highly recommend this book. It is a thriller, but it's really so much more than that. Okay, my other 4.5 star read is Leviathan Wakes by James S. A. Corey. This is book 1 in The Expanse. Yes, this is a reread. I listened to it on audiobook this time because the audiobook narrator is phenomenal. Like, so good. So I'm trying to do all the books on audiobook again. And I actually bumped it up from a 3 star to a 4.5 star this time around. Because it's been at least 4 years, I think, since I read the first book. Such a good series. It really is. It is science fiction and it is like a space opera. So in this one, the Rocinante doesn't exist yet in the beginning. We have James Holden. He is, I think he's like the XO aboard the Canterbury. This is a water hauler. Basically, they go to different asteroids and stuff in the belt, and they collect ice and take it back to be purified for water for the various stations that are in the belt. And they respond to an SOS call, and as they're responding, somebody comes and blows up their ship, and it's like a whole mess, and it starts like this serious tension between Earth and Mars, and through a series of events, James Holden and his crew end up with the Rocinante, which was originally a Martian spacecraft. I'm not really sure. It has like weapons on it, so it's definitely a military vessel. But yeah, then throughout this book we have the patient zero of this alien disease that has been discovered, and like shit goes to hell. Oh my god, it was so intense. I so much enjoyed this. I was able to get my hand on Caliban's War a couple days ago, the audiobook, which is book 2, and I have already started that, and I'm quite enjoying that as well. Okay, and then my 5-star read, and like I gotta say, I'm not even surprised. Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. Wow. This has gotta be the best she has done in crafting a story. Like, it has to be. So much of this I like didn't see coming, and then when it happened, I was like, oh, okay. And then, so we have that situation in here where we get like the same story told from 2 different characters' point of views, kind of, but she does it so well that it doesn't feel like you're reading the same crap over and over again, which I was very grateful for, because that's a good way to get me to skim half the book. So in this, we have our main character, Sue Trinder. She is a fingersmith. She likes to steal things. That's how she makes her living. She's like 16 or 17. And there is a man, they refer to him as Gentleman, because he is the son of a gentleman who, he didn't get an inheritance, because he was not like the first son. So he has turned to less than honest means to make his money, and he wants Sue's help in wooing this very innocent young lady. She is in need of a lady's maid, so he sends Sue to her, and the whole idea is that she is supposed to encourage her to run away with Gentleman so that he can marry her and subsequently take her fortune. So much happens here, and then like this is one of those books where I actually love the way the ending turned out. I cannot say enough good things about this book. I'll have to sit and think on it, whether it's my favorite Sarah Waters novel or not, but it's definitely in like the top 2 or 3. Okay, so that was my December wrap-up. I would love to hear any comments you have about any of the books that I've read, if you've read them or want to read them. Let me know if you had any favorite books in December as well. I would love to know what you guys were reading over the holidays. Anyway, Thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye.